gotta go potty.
Hello and welcome to the Darkling Chronicles. My name is Becky, and if you're here, it's because you know that I tell ghost stories, so welcome. I have decided tonight to go a little bit off-piste, and the reason that I've decided to do that is because I thought, do you know what, I want to tell you lot why I became interested in the paranormal and ghosts and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, why not do a little podcast episode on it? And if you're listening in the car or walking the dog or doing whatever you're doing, hopefully you can just chill, take it easy, listen to my story, you know. That's my favourite thing to do, by the way. I don't know if you've ever heard them, but I listen to Two Girls, One Ghost, and they actually crack me up. It makes me jealous in a way that I don't have someone that I can bounce off as well, because I feel like sometimes really good conversations about ghosts come from all different perspectives. So I apologise, that you just have to listen to my perspective. However, if you do have anything to add, I love talking to you. Please write in the comments on Spotify, because apparently you can do that now, which is really cool. Let me just set the scene. I'm in my bedroom. It's cosy. It's raining outside. You might be able to hear it. You might not. It's Sunday, it's very dark. I've just eaten a bunch of cookies, which I don't normally do, but I've decided to buy cookies this weekend, and I don't want to be judged for it, thank you very much. And I just thought, you know what, yeah, this is an amazing time to just reconnect with you and tell you some stories. So I grew up in a place called Yatton, which is basically a tiny place. And I lived down a road called Church Close. And the house that I lived in was 3 doors away from the churchyard. Now, in my house, upstairs, you go upstairs, and in front of you would be the bathroom. And then as you turn to the right, my mum's room was there. And then you keep turning right, and to walk straight down that hallway, on your left hand side would be my sister's room, and straight ahead of you would be my room. My room was the smallest room, and I just never felt settled in there. I just felt like something was always watching me. And I remember at night laying there and just seeing these swirls going around my room, and I thought, am I making this up? Am I making these swirls happen? Because it was never like a person. It was just these patterns and shapes, and it would look like they were like swirling really fast, and then they would come towards me, and it just freaked me out. And I remember thinking like, oh God, the landing light's on now, but I can't sleep, and it's getting later and later, and my mum's going to come up to bed in a minute, she's going to turn the light out, and then I'm going to be here in the dark by myself. Honestly, I've got to be honest, I think I slept in my mum's room till I was like probably 12. I'm not going to lie. I would be so scared. I don't know what was going on. Because at 12 we actually moved to Weymouth, so that probably makes sense. It was about 12. I just got so scared. If I didn't fall asleep straight away, I would have to go and sleep in her bed because it was just terrifying. Anyway, I went to Yatton Infant School and Yatton Junior School. In Yatton Junior School, it's like a church school, but it wasn't like a weird school, it was just normal, you know, but the only difference I think is that we had a priest that would come in for our assemblies, you know, every now and then, and he had this really cool big flip like paper chart thing. So I don't know what you call it, but you know, like massive bits of paper, and you imagine them in a boardroom, and I guess it's just so everyone can see, you know, what's going on for the agenda. But he would bring that in, and he would kind of set it up in a way that was really engaging, and he would tell stories of the Bible, I guess, like passages, and he would paint on this paper, and there would be like boxes, and then we'd have to like help him fill the words out, and then he'd paint like little lines in the boxes, and it became like whole sentences, and it was really interesting. And after those assemblies, sometimes he'd just hang around and we'd just chat to him. And I remember him saying about a ghost in the church, which was 3 doors away from me. I was christened in this church, by the way, so, you know, it kind of feels like ingrained in like my roots somewhere, but it feels really familiar and like loving. It doesn't feel really scary, but it, you know, I was a kid, so it feels a lot scarier then. But he was the first person who spoke about ghosts, and we're all asking him, what do you mean? Like, who is it? And he says, the Grey Lady. And we've like, where did you see her? Like, tell us more. Kind of can't get enough, hanging on his every word. And he says, I've seen her praying in one of the pews in the church. He said he'd seen her up in the tower. There was a little bit that you could go up and you could like view out, you could look out. I assumed he meant there. And he's seen her walking around outside the church as well. And he was the first adult that had actually spoke to me on such a level. You're telling me that things like ghosts are actually real. I couldn't believe it, but I could believe it energetically because I could feel it. I felt things. I felt things in my room, or the amount of times I biked through that churchyard because I was coming back from a friend's house in the dark, or I can't believe how many times I biked through that churchyard. And the energy in there was just, I get affected by energy anyway, but it was just crazy. So he's telling us all of this stuff, and I cannot believe that he's the first adult that has just ripped away that childlike innocence of, no, there's no such things as monsters, there's no such things as ghosts, no, these things aren't real. This man has like categorically told me that he's seen a ghost, and why would he lie? He's a vicar. Like, why would he lie? He's telling it in the most like sincerest way. Anyway, the rumour of the Grey Lady was that she had lost her baby and she was trying to find it. Now, okay, he's told us this story, give or take, could be real, it might not be. It might just be that he just likes playing into our childlike innocence and trying to kind of wind us up or, you know, get us going. But I had a teacher in year 6 called Mrs. Evans. Now, Mrs. Evans weren't someone that you messed with. She was one of those like battle axe teachers who called a spade a spade. Do you know what I mean? That was who she was. And not long after this assembly, because obviously we're still talking about it and we're still trying to figure out what the hell was going on, she says to our entire class, I've seen her too. And I was absolutely blown away. This lady is someone who is so black and white, not someone who would believe in anything like this unless she's seen it with her own eyes. She is not someone to lie. She was not someone to mess around. She ain't got time for it. She was just that kind of person. So he said, what do you mean? Well, like, what's your story? Like, how? So she says she was walking her 2 dogs at night behind the back of the churchyard on the pavement, and it's winter, so this is after work, it gets dark really early. It must only be about 5 o'clock, but it's pitch black, she says. So she crosses over from one side of the road to the other side, and on the other side is this big bush, and her dog stops to sniff it. One of her dogs stops to sniff it, and the other dog looks left. So she looks left, and as she does, this grey figure walks straight past her and past this bush and disappears into the churchyard. Like, I said, well, I remember thinking and saying to her, like, were you not scared? Like, you're telling us this so casually. Like, what's going on? And she just said, yeah, it was freaky. What do you mean it's a bit freaky? You're outside in the dark on your own Some of this behind the churchyard, by the way, some of the roads didn't have lamps, didn't have street lights. This was years ago. Like, we're talking like, when was I in year 6? Probably like 20 odd years ago. Maybe even longer than that. No, 20 odd years ago. So I don't know if this has changed now, but I remember her telling us the story clear as day, and I couldn't believe that someone so factual had actually backed up this priest. So then, that's the second thing. So then the final thing for me was, I had a best friend, one of my best friends called Glenn when I was younger, and we used to hang around with a guy called Matt. So we walked up to his to knock on him to go to the park to play football or whatever. And on the way to the park, this is really ingrained in my memory, by the way. I don't really remember many things, but there are some things that have really stuck out to me. And we're walking to the park, and he says that his dad used to live in my house, and his bedroom was my bedroom. And in that bedroom, he saw the Grey Lady. This wasn't like a joking conversation. Matt wasn't trying to scare me. It wasn't like a weird conversation. It was just a matter of fact. That's the story Matt's been told. Here you go. So you can imagine how I feel. I'm absolutely terrified, because I knew that I felt something in there, and now it's all been confirmed, and it's all started from this priest's story to my teacher's story to Matt's story about his dad. Now, I can't actually confirm whether that's true or not, because, you know, when you're a kid, things can be distorted. You can have memories that maybe you kind of created and stuck bits on. For the most part, I believe that these memories are accurate. But again, I have no reason not to believe Matt, but you never know, do you? But the way that he told me, it was just factual. That was it. No one in my house ever had, like my sister and my mum never had any experiences in there, or I don't think they really even knew or were scared. But I always kind of felt on edge, and I think that's kind of carried through my life, actually, to be fair. But that's the story of the Grey Lady. And when you go in that churchyard, you can really feel a presence. And I still wonder if she's there to this day. Obviously, that priest must be, bless him, he must be gone now. I would imagine that he's probably passed over now. So I can't even get any confirmation. But imagine if there's another priest there who I could go and talk to. How cool would that be? But yeah, that was really cool. Like, honestly, we used to play manhunt in there, and we used to go and hide in there at night. We would just be in that churchyard. Like, it didn't really have any. There was this massive monument in there, and it was like hexagonal. It had like loads of different sides, and it was like concrete. So, and it would go up and up and up. So you could sit all around it. And I think it was purpose built. I remember my mum showing me my christening pictures, and there's people sat on it for the christening pictures. So it wasn't to mark a grave or anything. But as kids used to go down there and sit on this monument and just used to hang out. And this like churchyard was never really quiet or, you know, left alone. I think it was well loved by us kids. It was a really cool place. But I'll never forget, I was staying around my friend Kate's house with our friend Sam. Sam's a girl. And we decided to sneak from Kate's house, because Kate had like parents who didn't really they weren't strict. So we used to stay there and just whatever, so we crept out in the middle of the night. And I've always been like a rule follower, like a goody two shoes, like not too much, but enough to like internally scream at doing anything like this. So we'd been watching like, is it like The Craft or something, like a witch film or something scary. We go down to the churchyard. It's probably about 2 a.m. I don't even know. When I think about that now, I was about 11 years old. When I think about that now, I think, oh my God, My nephew is 11, and if I knew that he'd snuck out of his friend's house at like 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning to go to a churchyard, I would be, I know it's a different time, but I would be absolutely horrified at that. But it's so mad. You always think that you're older than you are in your head. And when I think back now, I'm like, oh my God, I was just so young. But we go into the churchyard and we take candles and we sit there and we like touching like knees in this like little triangle that we've kind of created. And we put the candles in the middle and we light them and we start trying to summon spirits. Like, absolutely ridiculous. And we said, if there's anyone there, snap a twig to let us know that you're there. Well, a twig snapped. And I'm not kidding you, we absolutely shut ourselves and ran out of there so fast. Luckily, we were right next to the entrance and we bolted it back to case. I don't think I stopped running. I think I kept running and running and running. But the things you do when you're young is absolutely ridiculous. We tried to do that light as a feather, stiff as a board thing as well. You know, when you put your fingers like under your friend's back and under the leg, there's a few like both sides of your friend and you try and like levitate them. Obviously, we were going for a phase. I'm not saying that doesn't work, but we were so young, it was absolutely ridiculous. But yeah, that churchyard has got a lot of history and a lot of like meaning to me actually. And because I moved when I was in year 8 when I moved, so I must have been about 12. I sometimes think I need to go back there and have a walk around it and just reconnect to my roots, because it's like, I'm really happy my mum moved us, but it's like everyone I know here in Weymouth, they all grew up together, they've got memories of going to school together. Obviously it's a bit different when you move somewhere. I didn't have that like deep like child connection with anyone here. It's more just, you know, from school, but it's not from juniors or whatever. So sometimes I think that I was like kind of ripped from that and I've lost that connection, but I think I need to go back and like heal that part of myself, and it'd be nice to maybe see some people and actually talk about my childhood with them, because they were actually part of it. But for some reason I think it would be really healing to go back. But I would love to go in that church as an adult now. And I don't know, maybe see if I can get some EVPs, or maybe find out if there's a priest there that's actually seen the Grey Lady in this day and age. See if she's still hanging around. How cool would that be? But yeah, so that's my story about why I first got into this stuff. There are so many other stories as well as to like how it all developed, and I started going to like a mediumship kind of circle when I was 26 actually, and I don't even know how that happened. It just all fell into like kind of place. I had some crazy experiences there and I will talk to you about them. But I think I'm naturally can do mediumship, but I don't really do it anymore just because I've got different things going on. But I do feel like I'm naturally that kind of person who does get information about people and downloads of information and just knowings. But I always thought that everyone could do that until, you know, a few years back, and I realised actually not everyone can, or not everyone is tuned in, and it's just really bizarre. But there's so many stories that I can tell you guys. I will do many more podcasts that are a little bit more off-piste, so that you can get to know me a little bit better and maybe, you know, my background or whatever. But if you know a churchyard or a graveyard or whatever you want to call it, or church that's actually haunted, let me know the story of it, because I'm pretty sure there's like a grey lady, a blue lady, a white lady, pretty much everywhere. And people have seen it. People have seen them. And they normally all have lost a baby, or like they're hanging around for some reason. So you've got to let me know your version from where you are and where you live. And if you've got a ghost story, you have to send it to me. I think it's just really cool to connect through these ghost stories and just get everyone's like accounts, because these things are happening and people can say it's not real when they like, but you know, half the people who've seen them, they're not stupid, they're just normal, rational people. So you can't discredit it. It's mad. Anyway, you have a beautiful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time of day it is for you. And I will see you in the next podcast. You take care of yourself.